The sea has been an integral part of humanity. After all, most of the world is water. We could fish from it, trade up and down the coastal villages, but there was something else. We could use it to explore the world. Ships would set sail in hopes of finding new lands, new people, new riches to bring home. For the first explorers, those brave or foolhardy to set out into the ocean with the goal of reaching other civilizations, it must have been unbelievable what they told their people, when or if they returned. What strange lands they must have encountered. Now, if we want to see something strange, we just need to look out the stagecoach. Assuming you can break through the perpetual fog that has enveloped this coastal town, we will find ourselves in the Shroud. When the end was nigh, it became clear to those on the outskirts of our kingdom that death would befall them. The water levels began to rise and batter the village with its waves. Primeval, water-worn obelisks began to appear along the beaches, thrown by some unknown force beneath the ocean. In their desperation to survive, the people began to worship the monoliths, praying to whatever oceanic god would spare them from the encroaching tide. They walked into the brackish waters and emerged changed. They were reborn, remade into their new god's image. They had become the Fisherfolk. Their desire to survive was granted. The waters rose and swallowed the docks and piers. Yet the Fisherfolk continue on, giving prayers to the monoliths that scatter the beaches. Wharf rats were seamen who worked on boats or on the shore. They have since had an unnaturally large jellyfish attached to their heads that controls all their movements. They will sucker punch our heroes, causing bleed, or they will release a briny spray that gives them stealth while stressing the target, and adding barnacles to the battlefield. Let me elaborate. Barnacles are tokens that are added to specific ranks. When a hero moves or is moved from that position, there is a chance they will take bleed damage. The fishmonger who sharpens her blades. She is as skilled with deboning a fish as she is with filleting our heroes. She will buff and protect herself with crit and dodge tokens, while weakening and bleeding her targets. The bowsman carries a polearm that he uses to push and pull our heroes. He is also able to stun heroes with a resounding strike from the waterlogged rigging. The Hullkeeper is a stronger version of the bowsman, but also has a special skill, Riptide, that creates barnacles along the battlefield and increases bleed duration. Dockers are behemoths of men who once worked with the heavy rigging on the piers. Now they wear yokes carrying buckets of tentacled creatures. They will swing the buckets and throw their weight into their targets. They can also rush our ranks, shuffling the party. Captains were the leaders of their ships. They have since transformed along with their crews. Their bodies are covered in barnacles, and they fight with a hook, but their true role is to act as a support unit. They will order all hands on deck, which grants multiple buffs to their allies. There is one last Fisherfolk, one that has yet to fully develop: the Cabin Boy. Cabin Boys are an abomination of humanity and oceanic monster. A fetus with tentacles is the best description I can muster. Relatively harmless, their true strength lies after they have incubated for a turn. Then they will hatch. They will transform into one of the other Fisherfolks, but are noticeably stronger, quicker, and more resilient than the others. As we fight in the Shroud, the battlefield will occasionally be beset by fog, blinding or making the party vulnerable to attacks. This fog is unnatural, and it seems to originate from one location in particular. The sacred pier, assembled from driftwood, held together with rope and a prayer. As we approach, we can see an ancient and familiar sculpture. I can't quite place it yet. Give me some time to stew on this one. Let's go fishing. The Leviathan, the titan of the sea, brought to the shores of our coast. Throughout the battle, the Leviathan will mark two heroes with the eyes of the storm, its gaze beholding its next victims. It will then summon its hand from beneath the waves. The hand will grab our heroes and pull them under into the water, where their lungs will fill with the salty, cold water. The only way to save them is to destroy the hand and bring them back to the surface. The trick to defeating this boss is to have a high move resistance, for if the heroes resist, then they will not be taken under. The Leviathan will still batter the party with its hand, but it won't be able to deprive us of one of our crew. The Leviathan will also use Breath of the Sea, releasing a mist with the same effect as the fog. It can use Tidal Surge, whereupon the Leviathan will regurgitate a spray of water and fish and damage our party, along with releasing barnacles onto the field. Vanquishing the Leviathan will net us one of two trophies, either the Lashing Tide, which grants us +2 stacking for combat items, or the Beck and Call, which increases bleed damage inflicted and received. In the Shroud, we will garner starfish as baubles, one of the few pieces of aquatic life that has yet to be unaffected by the change in the coast. A reminder that, even as some things change, there are others that remain the same. Variety can be good, but not always needed. Some things are better left the way they are. There's something else I want to talk about. Maybe you saw them too at the Sacred Pier, or at the Stone Monoliths. They appear to be tuning forks. Why tuning forks? What purpose could they have? Well, I have a few theories. One is that it has to do with how they are transformed into Fisherfolk. Tuning forks, when struck, produce a frequency. In our history, everything from ancient hymns in the church to ritual drums by tribes, sounds have played a key component in healing, growing, and transforming. The second theory is that it has to do with protection. As stated, tuning forks produce a frequency. That frequency can be calculated with mathematics into an equation to understand exactly the kind of sound being produced. Perhaps these tuning forks are resonating at a frequency to protect the Sacred Pier from an even greater algorithm. I always enjoyed visiting the docks, the smell of salted air and the cool breeze from the waterfront. While enjoying the fresh catch of the day, I often found myself looking to the horizon, wondering what else existed out there. What exotic lands and people could we meet if we were to take sail? Maybe we'd find our way to the lands of the east, the Isles of the Sunward, where exotic spirits walk among the men. Maybe we could make our way to the desert kingdoms, that mighty Leviathan with their dark reliquaries. It was one thing to read of them. It would be another to experience it. The course is clear. The mountain looms in the distance. It is our compass. We will not trade our humanity for security. We will not submit to a false god and sell our morals for safety. Past these rickety piers and underwater monsters, we will find our redemption. All hands on deck, and hold fast. The fog is encroaching.
The wind blew sour. The oceans roiled. The earth shuddered at the coming change.